Okay. Good afternoon. Today's date is January 10th, year 2024. Happy New Year. This is the meeting of Library Committee, Newburgh Large City School District. Turn it over to Mr. Doctor. Turn it over to him.
All right. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you guys. This is our first meeting. I really wanted to just sort of introduce you to myself, to the library, to the whole sort of library ecosystem. Stand?
Stay over here, so
Okay.
stay on your seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how's it going to not stand?
Just
Right.
stay on the seat. Yeah. All right. Just to give you a bit of an overview. So beginning with myself, I was hired February last year as the assistant director and took over as the director in August when Carolyn left. Prior to that, I've been the assistant director at the Town of Esopus Library and the Hudson Library System. And prior to that, I was the director of the Tupper Lake Public Library in the Adirondacks for 2 years. During that time, I was recognized by the New York State Senate for outstanding service as a librarian during the COVID epidemic, getting the library in Tupper Lake open and open safely, faster than any other library in the Adirondacks. Prior to my time in the Adirondacks, I was at the Brooklyn Public Library for 10 years and worked all around the borough in positions of increasing responsibility, ending my time as a branch manager at the Coney Island branch. I also served 5 years in Brooklyn in the local history department there. So I had, sort of a plethora of experience working with city libraries not too dissimilar from the Newburgh Library. So coming here really felt like a return to sort of start of my career. And so that's a little bit about me. We just took a tour of the library so you guys can see the library's physical space. But now I'd like to talk about its organizational structure so you know kind of how it works. So when I took over as director, there was no org chart. So sort of the first order of duty for me was to create an org chart just to clarify roles for the staff. And that went a long way to improving staff morale. So what we're working with now is a temporary org chart. We have an assistant director vacancy that's being filled by our head of adult services, Patty Sussman. So she's our acting assistant director. So what you see here is the org chart in practice now. And then the second, scroll down a little bit. Those are the departments under this existing org chart. And then you go down to the bottom. Eventually, we'll have an org chart where the assistant library director, once that position is filled, will be in charge of public services. So you can think about that. It looks like librarian services. And the library director with oversight of the assistant library director, and public services will have direct oversight over all support services. So that would be things like facilities, the office of the director, which handles a lot of the accounting, security, and IT services. So that would be the breakdown.
Just 2 seconds. And so Patty is currently the acting assistant library director.
Exactly. So you go up there. Yep.
And Chris is kind of point where some of the people.
Yep. So
that we just did.
Chris would be under Patty directly, programs, marketing, communications. Next to that is community engagement outreach, and we have Kate Clark. So she's there. We have a vacancy in that department too. Laura Garcia, who's fantastic, took a new position and has moved on from the library. So we have to fill that position too. Collection development, we met Taylor Beach and the staff. She's the head of that department. And local history, you met Carla, but the head of that department is Heather Hendrickson Georgie.
Right. So here, I'm curious. You just mentioned the name, human.
Yeah.
Laura Garcia. She was incredible. She brought to the table. And what are your plans in trying, what are you looking for to replace her and understanding the different roles she played in that position and what she brought to the table?
Yeah. So it's actually a state mandate that we engage with community organizations. We have to satisfy that requirement. We have to prove it in our annual report. So what you're reporting to the state every year is what are the community organizations that you've collaborated with? And there are target populations that the state identified that we need to reach. There's the elderly, there's the disabled, there's veterans, neurodivergent, people where English is a second language. So there's, we have a duty to reach out to these target populations. A big one that Laura really thrived was with our Spanish-speaking population here. Laura's title was unique. It was Community Engagement Coordinator, which had to be created. And so this position, this title gives us a little more leeway to hire somebody who may not have a Master's of Library Science degree, but is familiar with community engagement and outreach. So you can't ever replace someone's personality or skill set even.
Yeah.
But I look at it structurally, what are the groups we need to reach out to? So in filling that position, hopefully we get a good applicant pool, someone who's familiar with Newburgh. And even if not familiar with Newburgh, familiar with how outreach should be done in a library. So if we find the right person, I'm confident we can get them trained how outreach works at a library. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So I'm glad you said that, like, in regards to community outreach. I love the programs that are going on there. I drive by sometimes, I look, or I see advertisements of different populations that have been targeted, and it blows me away.
Yeah.
What's going on down here. So my next question is this. How do we make the library a destination for the young children in our community, and the importance of what literacy truly is and what it's about, but having interest and wanting to be present at the library, especially the target population in the city of Newburgh, the Latino population, the Black population, the economically disadvantaged, because some of them feel like, you know, they've never been here.
Right.
They don't come here. How do we reach out and make them understand the importance of coming to the library, but also that they're welcome, we want them here? How do we do that?
That's the question, right? And I think you have to think big. I met a couple weeks ago, maybe butchering her last name, Nancy Proyect at the.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
Because I want to figure out how we can work together and not at cross purposes. How we can complement the early literacy that is core to their mission by offering something that builds off of that here at the library. And you go to the Armory and it's an incredible space. You see that soccer field, like my jaw dropped, right? So I think a lot of it, and this is why I pointed out the new construction here, we have to be bold in our capital planning too. This needs to be a building where someone walks in and like, I want to be here every day. And I think so much of your physical footprint makes a welcoming space. So that's the longer plan, right? That's the strategy going forward, is to renovate the space to make it a 21st century library that's truly welcoming. Aside from that, I think we have to continue the kind of community focused work that's laid on strategic plan. That I think Laura accomplished so well in her role as community engagement coordinator. We're out in the community and you're building bridges with those organizations, and just you have to get the message out that the library belongs to the people. This is a space. It's different from a school district. It's different from a business. You can come in here and you can do whatever you want. I call it the autodidact's paradise. We don't have an agenda here. It's your space to inhabit. So it is a challenge, but the challenge is to get the welcoming message. I think we can do that through capital projects and through programming.
Is there a way maybe to get every single homeroom in our district and elementary school level to have a half-day field day to where that class comes to the library for an activity? The teacher is doing this semester. This is a project we're working on, and you come here and maybe somehow introduce them because they've never been to the library. Comes with their friends.
100%. And this is one of the things we can take advantage of in our unique relationship with the district, right? Is build on that. Like, we have a really strong relationship with the FACE team. We did the Day of the Child. We got 400 people here. We put that together in concert with the district. I know on the 12th, Stephanie Monsanto, our head of youth services, going to Kate Clark, our community and outreach coordinator, to Meadow Hill to meet with a bilingual parents group. We just hired Stephanie. She's bilingual. Like, this is a huge, staffing accomplishment for me, I think, or for the library rather. And so we're trying to make those connections with schools, with places like the Armory, to see that these are partnerships that we have to build, but we have to see well, what do you guys need from us that we can support, and what are we doing that you can't do? I think too often you look around the community and it's like, well, they're doing technology classes and so are they, and they're both at the same time. Like, why don't we look at our resources, our limited resources, and make the best use of them? So to me, it's a communication, and I absolutely want our staff to be in the schools.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So that's the NFL structure. What guides the work of that structure is the strategic plan. This was approved, I believe, in May. So since taking over, I'm holding regular supervisory meetings with the department heads like Chris and Taylor. Patty's along with me there. And I'm asking all department heads to come up with action plans based on the strategic plan. so that I can hold them accountable to what the board has approved, what we have told the community, through town halls, through surveys, that we are going to do. Now, I know it's on the PowerPoint, but the goals for the strategic plan: service, innovative customer-centered services, collections, resources, programming, and technology. Facility, and I spoke about this briefly. Ability to reimagine to meet the needs of the community. 3, outreach, something Phil you're talking about. Expanded community awareness, changing perceptions, and focus on outreach. With Laura, we created a whole new title that didn't exist before. We're going to continue, and Kate just went full time, so we're growing that a little bit. What's that? Okay, sorry. Staff, investment in staff, skill development and training. This was priority number 1 for me taking over, was building up staff morale, showing them that they had administration that was listening and supportive. I've been around the library world a long time, and this staff is impressive with their professionalism and their skills. Like they're really amazing. So I put a lot of trust in them, and I'm here to guide them and support them. The strategic plan, I think, gives them the sort of guardrails to succeed. But I'm not a micromanager. I don't want to be breathing down their neck. We know where we want to go because of this roadmap. I ask them to come up with an action plan, and I check in with them to hold them accountable.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
And I love these people. I love the work they do. What is your relationship with the Friends of the Library?
Yeah.
Because they do some incredible work, and they're so, important.
Yeah.
What the role they play in the community as far as from a literacy perspective, making sure unserved population have access to books and the stuff they do is so powerful. I was curious, what is the relationship between Newburgh Free Library and Friends of the Library?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this Friends of the Library concept. So they're a separate 501c3. And Friends Group is really chartered. Their sole mission is to support a library. And typically that support is to support things that aren't covered in the operating budget. So it might be for if you had a high profile author come in and it costs $5,000, the Friends might underwrite that. And then it'd be, Stephen King at the Newburgh Free Library presented by Friends of the Library. And just so you guys know, not every library has #1 Friends Group. Not every library has a good Friends Group. Not every library has an active Friends Group. And we have all 3. This past year, they brought in $8,600. This is on book sales. These are volunteers. They're spending their Saturdays, they're spending their Mondays sorting through loads of donations that are coming in. It's also a community service. People want to get rid of books, but they don't want to throw them away. They bring them to the library, they get moved out into the community again. And this Friends Group, I have a great relationship with them. Right now, I'm the liaison with the Friends Group. We meet every month. I was just downstairs with Suzanne Dawes, who's the president. We have a bookstore down there and talking with her. And we come up with a plan for what we're going to underwrite. The Friends underwrite the GMA program.
Yes, they do.
So I know that Melinda has a program this month, and the Friends spent $400 on books to give away to the kids who come. So at the end of this GMA program, the kids are going to come away with their own library.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
Pretty powerful. So Ben could just flow through that.
and then lastly, in the strategic plan support, creating a system of sustainable and diverse financial support, right? We have the tax appropriation we get that underwrites most of our expenses. There's bullet aid that can come in from the legislator. There's construction aid that can come in from the DLV. But with this strategic plan, we're committed to finding other revenue streams. Some libraries even have foundations that raise money.
Right.
So this is just something I think we're going to be committed to discovering. Okay, how can we find more revenue streams, provide more services, more programs, and bigger, better collection?
Hey, do we ever recognize Friends of the Library?
We should.
I think we should.
Yeah, we had an event for them, and something when Jacobson came down. It was like a Friends of the Library week every year. So we cookies and coffee.
This we should recognize.
Yeah, that's a great idea. They are fantastic. They're fantastic. And you know what? That would be an awesome opportunity for us to recruit too, because people age out, and you need.
I don't want to say
You
that.
got to deepen the bench.
That's a,
Yeah.
100%. I was thinking about sustainability as that group, and I didn't want to go there. I was going to do it on the side. Seriously.
No, yeah.
The people, the ladies, the people involved with that group are so incredible and integral to what we do in this community. And we need to recognize them and perhaps help them recruit
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's pretty good.
Real quick, so there's the NFL strategic plan, but because we're the central library for the Ramapo Catskill Library System, we also have a central library strategic plan. Things that we're committed to, I don't think it's on here, so I'll just briefly, did I put it up here? There we go. So here's what we worked with RCLS to create this strategic plan for us as a central library. Number one is digital collections. Central Library will facilitate and develop a cost-effective system-wide digital collection response to member library needs, contribute to fund state funding. So this, we typically get around $250,000. And these library systems, their primary goal is resource sharing. So I work with the other directors in the consortium to figure out the best ways to share resources. So we use this pot of money from the state for a lot of electronic databases that everyone in the Ramapo Catskill Library System service area can benefit from. Some of this money we take for Newburgh specific stuff too. We try to share it out. It's really a spirit of collectivism. Two is training. Provide opportunities to RCLS member library staff for the training and skill development needed to support excellent state-of-the-art library service. Like I said, we're getting a new ILS system. We are going to be the guinea pig. We have representatives from Bywater Solutions who created the platform, which is called COHA. They're going to come in here and do a scoping study, look at our processes, make recommendations for best practices, and then farm it out to the whole system. So we take a leadership role in a lot of training and cutting edge things from the consortium. Technology, assist RCLS member libraries in implementing emerging technologies to improve library service. We've done that with like a targeted marketing platform called Orange Voice. So we paid $5,000 out of this central library service aid, and we just sort of piloted it. And then we report back to the libraries, and they can consider subscribing to themselves or subscribing as a consortium. Advocacy, partner with RCLS and its member libraries and advocacy efforts. February 7th is Advocacy Day in Albany. Myself and 3 other staff members will be taking buses leaving from here at 7:30, and we're going to be talking with our assembly members and senators that day, advocating for library funding.
Have you promoted that?
Not yet, because we're still getting all the detail ironed out. We just had a training on Friday, so we're going to start pushing the messaging out. And yeah, any board member who would want to come, I would encourage anybody. But we can talk about that later. And marketing and outreach. Working in conjunction with RCLS to determine dynamic marketing and outreach objectives to promote the programs, resources, and services of member libraries within the library system. So along with our own strategic plan, we have this strategic plan. So we have two guiding lights that we need to follow that help us make decisions. And I didn't put this on the PowerPoint, but it is on the agenda. And I just want to talk about briefly, I think this is something we're going to need to focus on in the year ahead, but the 5-phase building renovation plan, there is a plan in place. What you saw downstairs, the tech hub and the local history room, that represents phase 1. So I think what we can do as a committee is review this plan and see if it's still going to meet all the goals set out in the strategic plan and what we think the community needs to create the kind of welcoming library. All right, next, the New York State Public and Association of Libraries minimum standard. This is very exciting. So overall, what I was hoping to do here is just think structurally about it. The library itself, how the library fits into the RCLS system, and then how we fit into the state library, and what our mandate is from the state. So these minimum standards outline a lot of the work we're obligated to do. And every year, I'm going to start the report next month. We have to report to the state and assure them that we have done this work. We don't have to go over each point here, but it covers everything from bylaws, policies we need to have, having a community-based strategic plan, which we have and was approved in May, so we satisfied that obligation, to the hours we need to be open every week, to the kind of director you hire based on your population and whether you're a member of a library system. So what I'm hoping to accomplish in the course of the year with this committee is really shoring up the foundations of the library structurally. There's some things that have not really been looked at for a long time. For instance, the library policies have not been reviewed or updated since 2008. So that would be a big priority for me. And as an administrator, like that's the boring blood that courses through my body. Like I need some policies so I can write some procedures so I can inform the staff and communicate clearly about what they need to be doing every day.
Yeah, so Matthew, one thing we need to check with that, and I don't think it is, does NISBA have a set of library policies that we could use as a starting point? My guess is no, but at least we take a shot, 30 paid for the service,
Or at the minimum, send them a book.
what we have to be reviewed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that would
great.
no problem.
And then, so I didn't understand as a thought of the annual report. So I'll fill that out in February and that will go to the board for approval. And that'll give you a real snapshot of work the library's been doing. So yeah, I mentioned already the policies. These are the administrative tasks I'm hoping to focus on in the course of the year with this committee. And a lot of this stuff then will kind of just fall to me as the director, but we don't have an employee handbook. We have one from 1996. That's never been updated. Just a lot of nuts and bolts. If the library was an airplane, it would be like that Alaska boat. I'm trying to prevent it from being that. I want to make sure all the bolts are tight. So I'm kind of just going through and just doing a quick audit on the kinds of policies, procedures, and those sorts of things we do. We have a lot in place, but I just want to go through it, update it, and make sure we have everything we absolutely need. And that can also goes to cover like onboarding procedures for new hires. These are things that are going to be my focus, I think, we're going to talk about today. It's good. And lastly, just to go over sort of what the library's been doing this past month, the director's report. If you had a chance to read it, I could also kind of go over it. So since taking over as library director in August, my primary focus has been concentrated on three things: reopening a town branch. So I was just over there today with Ed and Andy Velez. The furniture has been ordered. The punch list has been drawn up for the work that needs to be done in the space, so we can start outfitting it with bookshelves and the desks. We are hopefully going to see the furniture in 3 to 5 weeks. So we're very close to opening that town branch.
What's the address?
It's 181 South Plank Road and Suite number 2.
Thank you.
Yep, and we'll get the sign up soon. I'm gonna get some coming soon banners for the windows, people know.
Reach out to our print shop because we can make those in the house.
Oh,
Right
great.
by the ball there.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah, perfect.
My print shop is upgraded.
Just give them the sizes and everything.
Yeah, all right.
It's gonna be a little bit different than the mall. You know, I was talking with Ray before we started. We had to make a compromise. Things weren't going to go forward the way we wanted with the mall, so we ran an audible and we found a smaller space in the same area that was going to work. Looking at the exit surveys from the time when we left the mall, a lot of people said they just wanted a place where they could pick up books and drop off books, and not have to come all the way into the city. This space accomplishes that sort of transactional nature of the library. A lot of the furniture we've gone with is mobile. It's on casters. You can move it around. It could be a dynamic space. I think we accommodate up to 60 people at a time. So we can still do kids programs in there. It's flexible. Getting space. It's just occupancy, general occupancy.
Yeah.
We do have, there'll be soft seating there. There's a coffee shop across the street. You can come in, grab a book, have a seat at the end of the window. It'll be nice. But
Not a lot of room for that.
not a lot. So, yeah. I imagine the space you'll have to be more intentional. It won't be the passive foot traffic you'll have at the mall.
Correct.
Budget-wise, down the road, this could give us flexibility to looking at other spaces. Space in New Windsor, another part of our service area where we don't have the space. So I think it gives us kind of flexibility we haven't had in the past, and flexibility the mall would not. So that was number one. Number two, completing our New York State Library construction aid capital project, and lastly, improving our staff morale. I already spoke about the town branch. The plans to wrap up the construction project at Maine are also in place. After we completed construction of the new local history resource center, which you visited, and the tech hub, we'll be adding a local history workroom as well. We're waiting on final word right now from CS Arch on a timeline for the work. So this workroom, I had a colleague who once said local history resources in a library are the jewel and children's services are the bedrock. So we are really looking at making, sort of a, world-class local history resource here. We've been working a lot with Mary McTammany, other people in the area, getting their input and to share, resources. Yeah.
So numbers, very impressive right there. So I'm looking at the numbers and seeing foot traffic and people that have walked through our doors.
Yeah.
So have we, do we have a way of documenting, those from our district, or how many of those are outside our district? Do we know?
That's strictly a door count. So, people don't have to present an ID to walk in the library. They just walk in and it's a tally, really.
But you could be a member and not live in the district, correct?
So again, with RCLS, you might have gotten your card at Cornwall, but you can come in and check books out here.
Okay.
So we do have numbers on that. We can go into our ILS and pull everyone who.
I'd be curious.
Yeah.
Can you do that for our next meeting?
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be curious to see what is our, what's coming from outside the district.
And you're right. These are pretty impressive numbers. Over the last 3 months, we've seen 36,795 people. Yeah.
Coming from a different and other libraries, and now you're the director of our library, how is our local history collection? Is it one of those gold standards? It seems to me that it is, because we have a lot of history in Newburgh, like how the library is formed. Like
So
an outsider coming in, what?
I've seen the whole spectrum, right? I was at the Brooklyn Public Library and we'd have Ken Burns calling us all the time to get pictures of Jackie Robinson. We had the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, which is a newspaper of record archive. So there's photos, newspapers, all that. That was truly world class. Then I was up in the Adirondacks at a small library, about, $250,000 budget, collection of 40,000 items. That was also a good local history collection. It was in need of a lot of PLC. So this is like a real sweet spot. For a library our size, it's actually an exceptional collection. And the staff have done a great job maintaining it over the years. And I know we'll talk about it a bit, but one of my goals is to have a local history librarian, a reference librarian, and then an archivist. I think what we're lacking is archival training to process collections. There's a lot of collections we're sitting on, but we maybe don't have the wherewithal to sort of process them into library standards. So I do want to build that up through the staffing changes. But it's a great collection. And the goal for me too is I want people to come here in 50 years and look to the local history collection and find out what's happening in Newburgh now. So we don't have a policy, an accession policy to acquire new collections, but I want that because Newburgh has changed a lot, right? This isn't still 19th century Newburgh. So how do we tell the story of the community members who are here now? And so that's a goal. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask this question because it's pages. Perhaps you have an answer or we don't.
Yeah.
So when we have events coming to the library, who signs off on that? Whose responsibility is what events are sponsored in the library? Does it go over here? Does it go to the superintendent, or is it your decision and you share with central office, or is it a decision that's solely made by the library? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, solely made by the library.
The library does it.
Yeah.
We review the event flyer that goes out to ensure that it meets all the criteria that it needs to, but they have full responsibility for what they offer in the library.
Okay, so the reason I asked that question, because sometimes when an event pops up, and first people they'll call us, they'll call the library. I mean, they'll call the central office, they'll call the superintendent,
Right.
and they'll be screaming about, well, how do you have success? No, seriously.
Yeah.
But the decision is really the library's decision.
Well, but the library reports to the superintendent and the Board of Education. So
Okay.
although we empower them to make those decisions in the best interest of the community, we do have a responsibility to oversee the decisions that are being made.
So a community member would be right in calling the superintendent.
Not if they didn't talk to Mr. Docker first.
Okay, so that's the proper way to do it.
It's called chain of command.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll work on that.
I'm really realizing I need reading glasses these days.
Back to the floor. Just touch on personnel.
Oh, okay, personnel real quick. So I alluded to it earlier with local history. Right now, we have a library assistant and a librarian there. I would like to create a librarian one position that's strictly a reference librarian for the local history collection. They would facilitate research and promote the collection. And our librarian there, by their own admission, is looking to retire soon. When that happens, I'd like to create an archivist position, who would handle more of the, processing of the archival collection. And then our IT department, you guys met Wayne Hay downstairs. He's the librarian one who oversees our whole tech department. He is leaving in June. Rather than have a librarian, I would like to look at more of a systems manager, or truly an IT position to oversee it. Technology is just growing exponentially, and though you could find a librarian who can do that, they're really within the field of a unicorn.
So his position would be made more of an IT position, not necessarily replace him and
Or
get IT.
eliminate his position,
Yeah.
create the systems
And you don't
position.
have that posting out or job description or anything like that.
We would have to create that position, so
Yeah,
we're gonna need you to support that.
those are the big ones. All right, we're going to ramble too much, guys.
Real quick on personnel.
Yeah.
What's the timeline for the, assistant library director position?
So we had posted for that twice, just weren't completely satisfied with the candidates. Patty agreed to step in and essentially an interim role. So we wanted to just, and things are running well. We wanted to wait a little bit before we posted again.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a wait and see.
When did it get first posted?
Well, Ben's the interim director of the library. Ben's former position was the assistant director.
Correct.
So we've got to make some shifts. We've got to post for the director, secure a permanent director, and then see what happens after that.
Meeting adjourned.
Take a roll call, just meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Station over.
Is that one?
Bye-bye.
You're done.